Master, you helped me. Needle, please. As your seamster, I'm happy to make adjustments to your garments. Master, make adjustments to your garb yourself. I would, well, rather you let me do the job when possible, please. I am your personal seamster after all. Oh, going so soon? Please do be safe on your journeys.
You're tarnished, aren't you? Then perhaps you could spare some runes. Believe it or not, I studied glintstone sorceries at the Academy of Rea Lucaria. For a small donation, I'd be happy to share my knowledge. Well, bless you, bless you. You're a true saint. My name is Topes. Presuming you're interested, I can teach you sorceries, as promised. Only, none of them are particularly great. Apologies, friend. I'm afraid my meager sorceries are no match for your generosity. Oh, right. I can tell you what I know about this place. That should help a bit. You've seen that structure to the north, towering over the water. That's the Academy of Rea Lucaria, where we study glintstone sorceries. Only its doors have been closed for quite some time now. After they declared they wouldn't interfere with the shattering, the Academy cast repelling seals on the east gate leading to the capital, and the south gate leading here. As you might have guessed, the seals are still active, making entry to the Academy impossible without a glintstone key. And so I'm stuck here. A fledgling sorcerer with little chance of acquiring a key. When they cast the seals, I'd just popped out. And now I'm uprooted from my place of learning. Why not find yourself a glintstone key? Without one, you can't pass through the Academy, and you'll never reach the Erdtree capital. Perhaps, once you've tied up all your loose ends, and I can be very patient, would you consider donating it to me? I know it. I'm a bluntstone. Nary a hint of talent for sorcery. But still, my place is at the Academy. Find yourself a glintstone key. Without one, you can't pass through the Academy. And you'll never reach the Erdtree capital.
Alright. I need to test out the audio for this. I want to make sure I'm not getting any echo. Alright, here we go. Sounds like none of the audio is going through my microphone, so that'll be fine. Okay then, let's go. Oh shit. I changed the title. Oh wait, I have to do that in the app, don't I? You know what? Maybe just keep it that way. That's a noise I don't want. That it only pisses me off. You're no David. It's not even making sense. Seems that I cannot use my phone to change the title for this video, which is slightly frustrating. I don't know why the app is so... You would think in this age of mobile technology that you would be able to do just as... Be able to do anything that you could do on your phone, which you could on your computer. I don't really feel like booting up my laptop, but it's doing a good job of making this more complicated for me than it has to be. I don't know why it is doing that, but it is. Let's see here. Computer options. No. That doesn't make any sense. Okay, wait a second. There we go. That's gotta be it, right? There it is. And remove the no commentary. Glad to be wasting my time on this silly nonsense. Not that anybody will ever see this anyway, so who cares? But it does. They're not going to care either, so that's good for me. What the hell? Okay, whatever. Just erased a bunch of stuff I didn't select to be erased. Who cares? And there we go. Very straightforward. No, this is not made for kids. I'm a foul-mouthed psychopath. There we go. Absolutely good. Let's move on, shall we? Been meaning to make one of these builds for a very long time. Somebody's knee healing up in this biatch. Okay.
You're new around here. Surprised you found me in my little nook. No matter, no matter. Your money's as good as anyone else's. Why don't you take a look at my wares? Oh, but don't ask me how I got my hands on them, eh?
Already got a lantern, so I don't really need them for that. Alright, so we basically cleared out all of them grave. Skipped Caelid, though I did quite a few things here in Caelid. I killed the, both of the minor Erd trees guardians that were here, because this one gives you a pretty decent amount, but this one gives you 91,000 souls, and they're really not, I say souls, runes, and they're really not that difficult to kill. In really in the grand scheme of things, they're very basic bosses once you know how to dodge their moves. So it's just a matter of patience to that point. Very worth it for 91,000 here. Early game. Change my YouTube settings. I don't actually want these live videos to automatically be uploaded as videos. I don't really want to see these again. Sometimes when I decide to start a live stream, I don't plan on being live for very long. Sometimes I just want to like chill, watch some YouTube videos, or listen to like podcasts and shit. Talk about while I'm playing a game. That's not conducive to life. It's weird. Joins, even though nobody ever joins. Nobody joins listening to some podcast or somebody else doing a video. Very strange. This is fun. Bigger first. I'll upgrade this Y-hander I have, since I have, in theory I have all the resources I need. Well, I need 6 smoothing stone. Actually, I don't have all the resources I need. I need more smoothing stone 1s, which, actually, I will be able to get. I decide to go a little north. Be able to buy them. Where I get this bell bearing I need. Now, update came out recently that changed a bunch of things, and I'm not sure if I completely understand what the patch was trying to tell me, but if I'm correct in what I read, which is very viable, very likely that I'm not correct. It's terrible. Wow. Pretty much everybody hates the fucking lobsters. The moveset is, like, not predictable, and they have shitloads of armor and health. And they attack you even if you're running away. So everybody hates the lobsters. There are lots of enemies in this game that everybody fucking hates. That it's not so much that they're difficult as they're really fucking annoying. I think the lobsters is definitely one. And the birds, and just the birds in general, is definitely another. I feel like everybody hates the birds and they hate the lobsters. The animals and the dogs. Everybody hates the dogs, birds, and the lobsters. It seems like Miyazaki is going out of his way to make everybody hate animals. I don't know why. I'm not sure what the motivation for that is. He hates animals and he demands that everybody in real life. He has some kind of animal phobia. And he needs everybody else to feel the same as he does about animals. I don't know. I think he's prejudiced against various animals. Everybody feel the same about them as he does. I don't know. Don't know. All I know is that I hate pretty much... Hello? are you doing here?
Hello? Is someone there? Would you donate any Shabriri grapes in your possession to me? I'm on a pilgrimage, in search of the distant light, and when I eat one of those grapes, I can feel the light in the back of my eyes.
I don't have any. I'm not sure if you can get some around here or not. I've never been able to progress that storyline past giving her the initial grape. Don't know where the other ones are, so I have to mark this place, though. I don't have to mark it. I'll know where she is. I do not have a 20/20 memory, but I have better memory than that. Okay, wait. Okay, this kind of suggests that there is another Shabriri grape around here somewhere, but... Goodbye. Hello? Now you're gonna charge at me after you get your courage and immediately end it in death. What a tragic story. Okay. It already marked for me where she is anyways. I'm just gonna go get that bell bearing. But yes, the patch insinuated, though not necessarily, maybe I read it wrong, there are certain bell bearings that carry over into New Game Plus. And I didn't quite understand what the list was trying to tell me. I guess I'm just brain dead, but my hope was that I was interpreting it as... Because I know it said that somber smithing stones carry over. That's great and all, but why would somber smithing stone bell bearings carry over, but not regular smithing stone bell bearings carry over? So I assumed that I was reading it either wrong or whatever, and that the proper reading of that was that all smithing stone bell bearings carry over to New Game Plus, which is great, because that's been a problem since the beginning of the game, in my opinion, was that going to New Game Plus, and you're going to get all those bell bearings again, which is dumb. That to me was dumb. I don't really feel like going to all those dungeons and getting those things again. As a matter of fact, I don't really want to have to be forced to do any side game content in New Game Plus. It should be an option. And if I want to go through that dungeon again, I can. But having to gather all the to be perfectly frank, I think none of the bell bearings should be bell bearings you have to get again. And, yeah. Now, the way I look at it is, if there are bell bearings that give you different items in New Game Plus, then you should have to get those bell bearings again. Or rather, you should have to get them from the character, as opposed to the bell bearings. But if there are things that you get from the bell bearings in the new game, the standard game, and you got that bell bearing, there's no reason why you shouldn't get that bell bearing again. You already have it. The maiden should just have it. That's my opinion. So changing some of it is great. I'm glad they did that. But I would prefer if they made it to where all bell bearings are once you have them. And no need for New Game Plus shenanigans. Just it's there in New Game Plus and plus plus and plus 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 and etc. There's no reason to have to get those bell bearings again, in my opinion, for any of the bell bearings. It's just the way I feel. So yeah. I don't like the busy work that comes out of New Game Plus. I feel like all the extra stuff that you did in the first go-around should be good enough for anybody. Good enough the first time, should be good enough the second time and third time, as far as I'm concerned. I'm tired of having to do extra work. Or rather, I'm tired of repeating myself for busy work. Like, having to collect items, that's one thing. Having to defeat the bosses, that's obvious. You don't start New Game Plus and then just go straight to the end game and be like, I did it again! Like, that's dumb. Obviously, you have to do all the story stuff, but bell bearings, that's different. That's, like, random busy work. I don't feel like I should have to do again. It's kind of like, yeah, if I want to get a copy of a weapon, I have to do the thing that I had to do to get it the first time. Like, to get 2 Rivers of Blood, I have to beat that boss twice. Or that guy twice, right? That makes sense. But to get the bell bearing, to lose the bell bearing at the beginning of the game and then to have to get it again, that's stupid. Now, maybe there could be benefits to getting copies of the bell bearings, like For instance, if there are merchants that give you a limited amount of some item, maybe getting copies of the bell bearing stacks that limited amount of items. So say in the first playthrough that certain merchant gives me 5 level 1 smithing stones, or just 5 festering bloody fingers or whatever, right? Whatever item it is that he gives me a limited amount, Aeona titles or whatever. If I get multiple amounts of those, depending on like how many I get, say he sells 5 of whatever item, if I get 5 of those bell bearings without ever buying the item, I go to the Twin Maidens, there are 20, right? Or 25, whatever. Doesn't matter. You multiply the amount of things. So that makes sense to me. That would be a great reason, an incentive to get bell bearings, that there are certain merchants that sell a limited supply item that I can't get anywhere else, that if I collect multiple of those bell bearings, I get multiple of those cells at the Twin Maidens. Now, I'm not the kind of person who kills people for bell bearings anyway, so that would not matter to me. I would just continue to buy the items from him no matter what. But when it comes to like smithing bell bearings and smithing stone bell bearings, I guess the reason would be so that like you have a reason to come to these dungeons again. There's a reward for killing the boss like there always is, but at the same time, who cares? To me, like, make a different reward then. Make it to where he drops a smithing stone. Or, you know what? It's New Game Plus. Why shouldn't he drop an Ancient Dragon smithing stone? You know, like the plus 25 weapon option. I don't see why not. We already have the bell bearing, but we have a limited supply of Ancient Dragon smithing stones, so might as well just give us one of those. But yeah, that's my opinion on the whole scenario there. That was responding to my strong attack, and I had full damage, so that was very strange. Here's with the stone twos. That's alright, I guess. Let's go. Ow. No. What are you doing there? Good. Get some more of those. Absolutely. I don't know if I'm going to upgrade my Claymore. I have a Swinehander now. I kind of want to upgrade that to +6. And then maybe I'll upgrade that to killing range instead of the Claymore. Claymore is really good because it has stabbing attacks, so does the Swinehander, even though it's a lot slower. With heavy weapons that are basically always stringed weapons, you have to use a lot more patience when it comes to attack. Boss fights that have faster resets, or just enemies that have faster resets. A lot of the time, if you can't stun them, you kind of have to be slow. You have to kind of just hit them once, play around for like a few minutes, and then hit them again, and then wait around and dodge and block and blah blah blah. I usually just dodge because I usually don't have a shield, even though I do it right now. Usually only have shields when I have these one-handed weapons. That's when I bother with those. And I don't usually bother with great shields unless I'm playing some co-op, so that I can be the tank, basically. Just hit the enemy and distract them while everybody else does damage to them. But for the most part, if I'm playing by myself, I won't use a shield. As you've noticed so far, especially with these magic guys, a shield has not really been all that useful. And the amount of stamina you use to block... Once upon a time in Dark Souls 1, shields were a lot more useful. Too useful, to the point where people would just turtle. Which, honestly, if you're pretty good at the game, it doesn't matter. If you're playing PvP and you're pretty decent, doesn't really matter how much the enemy turtles, you're going to have the opportunity to punch them pretty hard. And that became even more true in later Dark Souls games, and pretty much every Souls game. It got to the point, but I guess Miyazaki really hates people who use shields, because he's made them less and less viable with every installment. Dark Souls 3, they're pretty viable PvE. PvP, if your shield gets kicked, it's pretty much fucking over. But he's made them less and less viable. Especially here in Elden Ring, in my opinion. It's pretty much okay. I mean, the only good great shield is the fingerprint shield in PvP. I guess that's not necessarily true. See how much stamina it takes to block these? Obviously, this is a regular shield, so it doesn't really... One second. Block the damage very well, but that's not the point. Stamina, not great. Normal shields are okay for blocking damage. They're meant for just like... For me, I'll use them in PvP to just block one hit if I couldn't dodge it in time, or to just mitigate some damage if I was going to get hit anyway. For that, they're okay. If you're really good with medium shields, you can parry. See, I've got barricade shield here for now. I prefer to have parry on, but I wanted to play around with barricade shield and use it a little bit. They're okay. If you're pretty good at parrying, you can use them to parry. If you get some weapon arts for it, you can make it even better at parrying. But, there's some enemies up there that is not a good weapon for these guys. Not this one. But, all in all, medium shields are not so great. Small shields, like bucklers, are fantastic for parrying in PvP. But medium shields, not so great in PvE or PvP. They're just kind of okay. There are some really good ones that mitigate the downsides of medium shields. But overall, I would argue that in general, medium shields are not so great, and that even great shields do not promote, even when used wisely, great shields do not really promote a good playstyle. Though medium shields, in my opinion, are pretty okay for promoting a better playstyle, because it basically encourages you not to block, to not rely on blocking, which is good, I guess. But the fact that dodging requires almost no stamina as compared to before, which was it required a decent amount of stamina. So blocking could sometimes be just as good, if not better, in a certain scenario than dodging. And nowadays, not so much. Like, the amount of stamina that you use blocking is a lot in most cases, especially with medium shields. And there's no real reason to block instead of dodge, unless you just can't time it right. Because you'll receive full damage if you try to dodge instead of block, and you don't time it correctly. 1 second. Switch to... Sometimes when you try to two-hand, I don't like the new two-hand system, even though it gives us more options to have it to where you have to hold triangle, because you can like stuff now, whatever. But then you can jump. But if you straight up come out of the menu, like for instance, say I come out of the menu, I push this, and then I try two-hand. A lot of the time, I'll be holding triangle when I come out of the menu, and I'll do an attack. So you have to, like, if you use the menu when you try to do two-hand, sometimes it'll attack, even though you're already holding triangle, and then other times it'll two-hand. Though in my experience, if you use the menu and then come out and then try to two-hand, it'll attack almost every time. So that was a bad example. I don't know why it suddenly started working that way, because every time I've come out of the menu and tried to two-hand, it's attacked, which has gotten me in trouble a couple times, which is really frustrating. Especially now that it isn't working, now that I'm showing it off. Okay, now it's doing it again, but in my experience, almost every time it will do that, but it's deciding not to do it now, because making me look like an idiot, is the modus operandi of pretty much everything I've ever done. Okay, so here we go. I have 7 plus 3s. I think those are plus 3s. I want 12 of them. At least. I already have enough to get me to plus 7, or plus 8, rather. I need enough to get to plus 9. Should be in this area. I'm not going to upgrade this mace, even though I want alternative at plus 6, which would probably be really smart. I want... if I'm going to upgrade a blunt alternative, I want it to be the Great Mace, or some kind of two-handed weapon, because I want it to be doing a lot more damage than that. Just need 4 more Smithing Stone 3s. It's over here. Okay, it's an elevator. Go over here first. Now, it should be a Crystallian in this area, if I remember correctly. There we go. Second call right there. I could have killed myself doing something stupid like that. Alright, let's fuck up this Crystallian with this mace. I mean, let us frig up this Crystallian, my guy. There he is. This guy's fucking Xena warrior. Thing going on with this stupid ring. That's a really dumb weapon. And now let's smash his face. Oh, boom! No. If I die to this guy, I'll be really disappointed. Oh, I got it. Wasting that. Oh, I don't have any healing. That's funny. I'm gonna need it though. Yeah, using a blunt weapon on this guy, even with just a plus 3, is extremely effective. So if you're having trouble with this guy, one, you're not. You should probably play other games, but no, you'll get better with time. But a blunt weapon. Choose a blunt weapon. A two-handed blunt weapon, if you're a strength build with this guy, would be fantastic. If you're a dex build, you could use a flail. But any blunt weapon, two-handed, beat the crap out of this guy. He's a fucking joke. Even if it's just a plus 3 weapon, he's a joke. He's a complete joke. Personally, I believe even if you're not using a blunt weapon with this guy, he's pretty much a joke once you know what you're doing. I think I've died to him once, but you didn't hear that from me. As a matter of fact, that never happened. But yeah, now I have the smithing bell. I can go upgrade any weapon I please to plus 3. I think I'm going to upgrade my Zweihander next. Big fan of sword weapons, but at the same time I'm feeling like I should save my... Well... By the time I get any... Because this is going to be a strength-based build. By the time I get any weapons I actually want to use with this build, which, by the way, I want to use most of the Black Corpse Wax weapons with this build. I'm going to stop at 90 for a while to just do some PvP stuff. Level 90, I will have 60 Vigor, 20 Endurance, 25 Strength, 25 Faith, and 13 Dexterity. That'll allow me to wield most of the Black Corpse weapons, besides the Twin Blades, and I'll be doing pretty good strength, physical, and holy damage. And I'll have plenty of health. So I'll just do some PvP in areas with that. I'm not sure how high I should upgrade my weapons, because I know that'll limit who you can invade and where, but it is what it is. Alright, let's talk to... No, that's right. He doesn't want to talk. He's too good for me. Let's go put our bell bearing where it needs to be. Oh, hey, Nephili.
I thought you'd receive a summons to the round table. Nefeli Lu. We met at Stormvale.
How could I forget you?
Here. I have something for you. I found it in Godric's grafting grounds. You were the one to defeat him, I would hazard. Make good use of it. I don't intend to make a habit of scavenging corpses.
Yeah.
Ah, yes. I wonder if you've met my foster father. He's in his study. The room Encher's guarding just over there. If you haven't already, I advise you introduce yourself.
Notice how he's...
Father is leader of the Round Table.
I think he is.
I'm sure talking to him will be worth your while. It's about time I headed off. I'll see you again, warrior, should the fates deign it. It's about time I headed off. I'll see you again.
Yeah, he's definitely watching us, despite refusing to talk to us. Okay, here's a bunch of stuff I haven't bought yet. I don't plan on buying it either. It's all for bear blaring. English is hard, guys. Even though it's the only language I speak, I can't speak it at all. Very interesting. Anyway, I feel like for now, a claymore is an excellent weapon for a strength build, as long as I put it in heavy scaling. If I'm using a weapon that isn't automatically splits damage weapon, which is, say, for this build, it'll be strength and holy damage for the most part. Maybe sometimes flame damage. But for weapons that aren't like that, I'll likely be using buffs like lightning and fire. I'm going to try to beat the game, or at least get to end game at level 90, so I have lots of resources to low-level PvP in. The motivation for this is usually that I'm not simping for that woman. Is usually that you're going to be doing a lot of damage and have a lot of. This is basically just twinking. I'm basically twinking, except for the difference is I'm not staying level 1 basically. You can do really super low-level twinking by just not leveling anything and not leveling your weapons and just putting buffs on them and stuff like that, and just destroying low-level players. But I'm just going to be level 90 twink, basically.
You've done well.
I'm going to let this woman talk for a little bit. I'm going to go grab something to drink real quick.
I interpret the words of the fingers, envoys to the greater will. Look there. The fingers tremble to welcome you, Shardbearer. Let their wisdom wash over you.
Great Elden Ring, root of the Golden Order, anchor of all lands, giver of grace, wellspring of all joy. Until it was shattered, the tragic corruption of the Order has taken its toll. Across the realm, life lies in ruin, fallen to pieces. Foul curses and misery spread, unabating. But the greater will has not abandoned the realm, nor the life that inhabits it. So it is that the tarnished are guided by grace, called to act. Brave tarnished, your great rune is a handsome shard of the Elden Ring. Seek another of its kind, to become Elden Lord and restore the Golden Order.
Let the words of the fingers guide you.
Well,
I see. A remembrance of gold has found its way into your possession. Demigods and even the creator of the champions are hewn by the Earth Tree upon their end into remembrances. They are valuable indeed. Yet house the power of their former masters. And should you wish to wield that same power, well, I will lend you the strength of the fingers. Do not recoil from my offer. The fingers guide us all. And you, tarnished, you are here to take, are you not?
Now that's an interesting plot point I never really thought about. I never really gave it any consideration. I guess I didn't think about it when they said it the first time. These remembrances are crafted by the Erd Tree itself. That is to say that the Erd Tree creates a copy of their... Well, we're going to use terminology we've used in many Souls games. A kind of copy of their soul. It's a remembrance. It is a representation of their very being. It is their memory incarnate. A representation of them. Later on in the game, we actually kind of see how the Erd Tree does this, and I can actually use these remembrances to create a sort of incarnation of the person that came before. It's a representation of them. It isn't them themselves. It's like a hologram of them. It's a sort of clone, in a way. Not necessarily a clone, but more like a... I've used the word representation already. More like... Not necessarily another synonym of that either. Just kind of... a mimic of them. I don't know how else to put it. An avatar. Right. Anyway.
Ah, great runes are the stuff of demigods. The children of the goddess, Queen Marika. She who is vessel of the Elden Ring. Tainted by the strength of their runes, her children warred, but none could become Elden Lord. And so grace was extended to your kind, the Tarnished. Listen, the fingers speak.
The Greater Will has long renounced the demigods. Tarnished show no mercy. Have their heads. Take all they have left.
Indeed. But remember one thing. The demigods are each and all the direct offspring of Queen Marika. Godric the Grafted was but a distant relation, the runt of the litter. His divine blood sorely diluted.
Alright, so that actually kind of leads on to the other topic I want to talk about, which is that the Tarnished, you kind of find this out later, the Tarnished are all descendants, not necessarily directly of Godfrey himself, but of all the people who served under Godfrey. Now, if you choose the hero class, it's insinuated that you are a direct descendant of Godfrey himself, like all the straight up, I would say, barbarians or great warriors. But pretty much everybody who plays this game, you create a Tarnished character. All the Tarnished are either descendants of Godfrey himself or descendants of the warriors who fought for Godfrey, which were all unparalleled warriors, all the survivors of his war anyway. All the veterans, all the great warriors who served in his army were great warriors just like Godfrey himself. They're not necessarily as powerful as Godfrey himself. Great warriors like himself, survivors of war, and, well, just brilliant warriors, whether they be sorcerers or priests or whoever they were. Right now I'm playing... Excuse me. I'm playing a vagabond, so I guess a descendant of a knight. At any rate, we're all descendants either of Godfrey or his warriors. Now, basically I'm spoiling everything, but Godfrey was divested, that is to say, his power that was granted him by the gods was taken away from him. And he was sent off to wander the lands, outside of the lands in between, and by Marika herself. The idea behind this is, from what we can interpret, Marika did this... Well, at first we weren't sure why she did this, but the funny thing is that basically what the game is demonstrating is that all the Tarnished come back, and one of them becomes the Elden Lord. After Marika's, or like the kingdom of that was the Golden Order, has basically collapsed in on itself. Once everybody's become weak and they've become comfortable and everything, and civilization starts to collapse in on itself because of corruption and weakness, the people she more or less banished, and we're not sure if this is why she did it or not, become very strong because they faced so many challenges in life. They didn't have the immortality that this land had, been blessed with. And so their descendants are people who have always faced hardship. And so when they return, they basically become the kings of the land. The descendants of Godfrey even have to face Godfrey himself, who was once the first Elden Lord. And in order to become the Elden Lord, have to basically pass his test of strength. And it's interesting because it's an interesting kind of, I wouldn't say philosophy, but it's an interesting lore tidbit that let's see here. The direct descendants that had stayed in the lands in between had become so weak that the mere men who had been raised in harsh conditions, simply the descendants of the warriors who basically... It explains that Godfrey basically conquered all the great gods of this land, and that once he had conquered all the great gods of the land, there was no great war left to fight. And that the reason that Godfrey was king in the first place is because he was strong. But the only reason he was strong is because he constantly faced great challenges. And after the last of the great challenges had been felled, and there were no more great foes to best, he had been sent away from the land, I guess in order to find more foes to best, in order to keep up his strength. And all of his descendants grew strong by this as well. Now, what ended up happening is that all the people who stayed in the lands in between and basically grew fat and happy on doing nothing, I guess, I'm not sure what they were doing with themselves since there were nothing to best. They were doing new miracles, they were engaging in politics, they were fighting amongst themselves for the most part. They were not fighting great giants and dragons and monsters, usually, unless they were attacked. But for the most part, they relied on the strength of their ancestors and spent most of their time fighting amongst themselves. So when us, the descendants of the great Lord Godfrey, who went on to go find on other great challenges, return, we find that basically all the gods, having nothing to unify against, spent all of their time killing each other. And so we basically usurp the Elden Ring throne from underneath all the demigods because they have grown weak and complacent. And while they were here fighting amongst each other, we were off fighting other enemies and foes. Which I guess it is insinuated that Marika intended this. That Marika basically banished Godfrey so that his other offspring would come back one day and kind of do what he originally did, which is pair with Marika, the goddess, and create a powerful lineage, which it kind of insinuates this cycle just kind of repeats itself forever, in which, I mean, this is kind of an argument of, I'm not sure which circle of thought you would call this, but there's a saying that goes that, like, strong men create easy times create weak men create hard times create strong men. It seems like Miyazaki likes to incorporate these kind of ideals in a lot of his games. In Bloodborne, he incorporates the ideal of, of the idea that, like, the more powerful a being is, the less children it has. He does it with the Great Ones, where, like, they have almost no children to the point where almost all of their children always die. You see this in civilizations where the lower the average income of a family is, the more children they have. And the greater their income, or the greater their produce, the greater educated they are, the greater resources they have, the less children they have. And with that, he took it to its logical extent in that the greater the being is, the Great Ones, they have so little children that pretty much every child they have is a stillborn or is misbegotten. It's some strange creature that has no intelligence at all. They barely have any children ever. Here we go. Let's go ahead and talk to this guy. I'll go ahead and get off that train of thought for now, because there are some controversial ideas behind all of that a lot of people don't like. Fair enough. It is what it is. But for now, let's just talk to Rogier here.
we meet again after all. I apologize for any offense given by my bearing, but I'm quite unable to move, you see. So, what do you need?
Last time we talked to Rogier, he was perfectly healthy in Godric's castle. So now he is, for some reason, very sick. I've already bought all of his weapons.
Ah, you defeated Godric and claimed yourself a great rune. Looks like we both got what we wanted out of Stormvale, didn't we? Well done, friend. Something to mark the occasion. Go on, take it.
Now, if you're playing with other people, getting Rogier's Rapier +8 right here is very useful, not in just that it is a +8 weapon, but it'll allow your allies to drop for you weapons that are of a higher level, +9 weapons and the like. So, this can be useful if you're playing with others, or if, really that's the only use it has. Or if you just don't have you don't have any upgraded weapon whatsoever, and you just needed a +8 weapon. So, here you go.
As you might have guessed, I still can't move. My fighting days are behind me. No need to be polite. I've no use for it anymore.
I will be right back. I have to use the bathroom. Alrighty, I am back. Let's move on.
The misshapen corpse under Stormvale. That is a sacred relic of the Black Knives plot, as that famed night of assassination is known. It happened during the golden age of the Erdtree, long before the shattering of the Elden Ring. Someone stole a fragment of the Rune of Death from Malekith, the Black Blade, and on a bitter night, murdered Godwyn the Golden. That was the first recorded death of a demigod in all history, and it became the catalyst. Soon, the Elden Ring was smashed, and thus sprang forth the war known as the Shattering. I once wished to become a scholar, you see. I've spent many an hour scouring the archives for knowledge of that fateful plot. The world has grown crooked, and if you intend to put it to rights, you'd better understand what happened to make it this way. And that thing is to blame for the shape I'm in now. I urge the utmost caution. Don't disturb the corpse
legs are
more
rotted.
than necessary.
I'm gonna notice the flies or this dust that's coming up from his legs. I think his lower. I think he's dying. His legs have rotted or something. He covers them up, I think, to hide what happened to them, not necessarily just because it makes him comfortable. I think there's something going on there.
Ah, so you've met Dee. Dee is an old friend. We found ourselves journeying together for a time, bound by our exploration of death. But our paths have since diverged, never again to cross. Though that's hardly an uncommon fate for two friends. Dee was telling me that he discovered the mark of the centipede. The centipede is an ancient symbol of the curse mark. As long as whoever finds and uses it is not nefarious by nature, then we may be able to form an alliance. If only... all the better.
This is a very tragic story of Roger. He's trying to find a way to make those who live after... because we've seen evidence, if you pay attention to the skeletons, they're still sapient. They still have their culture, even though they've been forced back into living by the curse of Godwin. This actually leads to the other topic. He points out, basically, he confirms that the corpse we find, that strange relic that we find after the fighting that tree spirit underneath the storm veil, is the original body of Godwin. But he has another body, for some reason, somewhere else, under the tree in the main capital, under Altus Plateau. And I believe the reason for this is that because he's a god and his spirit is one with the Erd Tree, when he was killed imperfectly and lived after death, his spirit is somewhere in between life and death inside the Erd Tree, and he's creating copies of himself all around the place. This is why you see eyes on the growths where you find, and this is why there is death root in the first place. He's producing some kind of malignant tumor on the Erd Tree itself through his spirit, not passing on. I think Roger is misguided. He wants to find a place for those who live in death in the world, and Fia as well. I'm not interacting with her in this playthrough. I'm playing a Strength of Faith playthrough, basically a paladin who maybe is misguided himself, but I believe the ultimate intentions are good. And personally, I believe that the Greater Will ultimately had better intentions, good intentions as well, but people have free will, and they go about their machinations of their... they make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. I think the Greater Will was just doing what it could. And that maybe even this was intended, that we forge our own path, and that only the strong can create a better world, despite any goodwill that comes from the Greater Will, as it were. I think Rogier is misguided, though he has a good heart. I think D is also misguided, but he's on the right track. He does what he does just because he is a righteous paladin, and he's set on a course. But he knows not why he does what he does. And Rogier knows much, but what he's doing, and he thinks he's an investigative and curious sort. He's misled himself in that he is trying to help those who live within death. But I think the only way to help those who live in death is to set them to rest and to right what has been wronged, and reenact the Golden Order, to put it back in its proper place, and to have life and death be as it was before. I think the second best to that is to just have an Age of Tarnished, but it's best that things went back to the way they were before, and to have life and death be separated, and to have order be restored. That's my opinion, but you know, everybody has their own opinion about how things should be. But having people walking around as skeletons, even walking around as undead, permanently alive, is not ideal, in my opinion. Alright, let's upgrade this Y-hand, shall we? I'm actually going to put away some other weapons while I'm here. Roger is a great guy, but I really believe he is misguided in his goals when it comes to helping these people. I say these people. I mean those who live in death. But they're sentient. They're just living their lives as best they can, but they need to be put back to rest and put back to the natural cycle of life and death in order to find the peace that they so sorely deserve and need. nature should take its proper course. And as it is now, everything's all messed up. And we gotta put everything back in its proper place.
Those eyes tell a story of a challenger who's felled his mark. Fine and well. Now lay out your arms.
I still need to upgrade this too, but I'm gonna leave it alone for now. So I hinder. Let's upgrade. Alright, we're going to see if our, well, first we have to put an Ash of War on it, but we're going to see if our Zweihander does more damage two-handed than our Claymore does. No, it's +8 versus +6. I just need to see, because I may be using the Zweihander for a little while. Even though it's slower, and I find that, honestly, I need to be upgrading my longsword, because it requires a different kind of patience, and that it only does a little bit of damage at a time, but it's more satisfying to be able to at least get a hit in when you need to, as fast as possible, in my opinion. And I don't know why I upgraded the Claymore to +8. It's just a habit. I like two-handed swords. What can I say? That's why I'm upgrading the Zweihander, the two-hander, as it is basically straight out named. Anyway, let's put an Ash of War on this baby. Oh, I just realized I can't carry it as I am now, which is a problem. Let's see something real quick. So, two-handed. 269. 269. Of course, even a +8, this should do more damage. $251 does less damage. Wow. Zweihander's not so great. Not worth my time, in my opinion. Back to this then. I think I should upgrade my longsword from now on. And my mace. It's tempting to use the Claymore because it does a lot of damage all at once, but in my opinion, it's a better idea to upgrade my longsword. So for now we will use the Claymore, but I have to remind myself to upgrade my longsword as soon as possible to start putting points to that. Notice how heavy load. I want to focus on the benefits of using this in boss fights for a while, and worry about. Oh yeah, that's right, I did that area. But yeah, just focus on damage for now. Just have to dodge a lot. Definitely want to upgrade my longsword as soon as possible. Even with the strength build, the longsword at heavy build is a decent weapon. Nope, I messed up. So yeah, upgrading that Zweihander to +6, probably stupid. Probably should have upgraded my mace. All in all. Let's see. Let's go to inventory. I have plenty of. All I need is 7 more of these. I wonder how many soul items, rune items. I mean, of course. Don't know if I could afford any +2s at this rate. I don't think I'm going to use their remembrances for this guy, so I might end up using that to get some more stones. Let's go upgrade our mace. It's probably wiser to upgrade our mace. When's the next time we're gonna get some +3s? We're not gonna be at Altus Plateau for a long time. I'm not sure how many +3 smithing stones we're gonna get until then, because it's a limited resource until we go to Altus Plateau and get the smithing bell. I'm gonna think about that. I'll be right back. I'm gonna get something to drink. I'm returned. Alright, let me think about this. Let's look at fishing real quick. Yeah, we're gonna focus on... It would have been really smart for me at this build, because I'm making a strength build, to focus on great axes, and then just upgrade that, and then put War Cry on, and get the Roar Medallion and the charge attack, because I'd be doing tons of damage, but... I like to be well-rounded even when I'm not abusing charge attacks. I like to have the options, you know, stab attacks. Having thrusting and standard damage options is great, and having a mace as a backup is also great. Yeah, you get the... Oh, wait, I might want that dragon mouth thing. Let me go back and see if I can get that. I might want the dragon head. I might actually use that with this build. A strength faith build. Now the maximum faith I'm going to take it to is 25, but the maximum strength at 125 will be 40. And much to many a person's chagrin, because many people think stamina is terrible, I'm actually going to take my endurance to 40. I want to wear heavier armor, and I'm going to be able to have more stamina.
You have returned.
And I've been doing this since Bloodborne 2. Ever since endurance has fallen out of the meta. And endurance has basically fallen out of the meta since Dark Souls 3, a little bit after it. Like, Bloodborne, endurance was... I still used endurance both in Bloodborne and in Elden Ring. And I've had success. I admit, most people do more damage than me, but it just influenced me to get better at the game. But I just like having more stamina. I like being able to press my enemy and to have more stamina to react and to dodge in situations where I'll need it, and to be able to wear heavy armor. With the Bloodborne, that wasn't really the case because your armor isn't determined by endurance, but it does let you use certain combos you otherwise wouldn't be able to use without having enough stamina, like with the Burial Blade, which is my favorite weapon right next to Holy Moon Blade, with the Holy Moonlight Blade. The Dark Moon Blade? Ludwig's Holy Blade, that's what it was called in Bloodborne. You can't do the fourth move for your L2 when it's two-handed, when it's transformed, rather, if you don't have at least 40 endurance. You can't do the final move for it, which is like a final swing, and that really catches people off guard, and it does a really good amount of damage if you have it upgraded all the way. So personally, I prefer to put endurance. And maybe it's just a habit I learned from Dark Souls 1. Dark Souls 1 probably being my favorite Souls game. I would say out of if I had to do a top 5 for Souls games, in just Miyazaki's FromSoft style Souls games in general, including Elden Ring and Bloodborne, and not including Shadows Die Twice, because I haven't beaten that game yet, because it's too hard for me. It's really hard. Anyway, I would put Bloodborne at number 1. Bloodborne is my favorite FromSoft game because it's so original, it's so different from the other Souls games, and it has a lot of personality, and it's very fast-paced. It's just a very fun game. It has a lot of personality. The art direction is fucking fantastic. The story is amazing. The combat is great. The weapons are so much fun. Even though there's way less weapons in Bloodborne there have been in any other FromSoft Souls-like, it is the best weapons, in my opinion. The weapon choice is so condensed, and yet every single weapon has so much attention given to it because of that. And I actually prefer that style, as opposed to the Dark Souls 2 style, in which there are hundreds of weapons, but they all feel the same. Personally, I prefer a game where there are 13 total weapons, but every single one of the weapons has so much nuance. And Bloodborne is my favorite Souls game. Now, my second favorite, I think, is actually Dark Souls 1. The original Dark Souls. Not the Prepare to Die edition. I think the remastered... You know what? No, the Prepare to Die edition, because I have better memories with it. I would say Prepare to Die / remastered. They're not the same. I think remastered comes right after it, but I want them to share the same space because I don't want to take up too much space if Dark Souls just 1. But the Prepare to Die edition becomes before it, even though the remastered edition addresses a lot of bugs. I really miss the PvP mechanic in which I would invade people and I didn't have Estus. I think it's stupid that invaders have Estus now in remastered. I'd prefer if they only had humanity, because I remember, as an invader, having to farm humanity, knowing that that was going to be my only way of healing, and that I would have to get really far away from the host and go hide in order to be able to use it without getting hit. And humanity is really, really good. And it makes sense too, because you're a dark wraith, and what would you use as healing besides humanity? It makes perfect sense. You've been farming humanity. You're going to use humanity as your healing item, not Estus. I think it's stupid to have Estus for the invader. I think it's really dumb. That's just my opinion. I didn't like it in Dark Souls 3 or 2 or whatever. I think healing items should be your resource as an invader. I think before you go hunting other players, you should have to, much like in Monster Hunter, prepare yourself for the hunt and just kind of have items that you have ready and are prepared to use. That's my opinion. Now, third place in Souls games. It might be Elden Ring. I haven't completed Dark Souls 3 yet. I had almost completed it at one point, but then I focused on PvP for a while, and then my PS4 died, and I had to replace it. I had to send it in to have it reformatted, and I lost all the memory for my my Dark Souls 3, and I never went back to beat it. I beat Dark Souls 2, I beat Dark Souls 1, I beat Bloodborne, I've beaten Elden Ring now. I've never beaten Dark Souls 3. I've never beaten Shadows Die Twice. I think those are the two games, really, that I haven't beaten. The Shadows Twice doesn't really belong on the list because it's not. You don't have your customizable character. You're just a guy with a sword. It's a storyline game for the most part. It's a great game, fantastic game, but it's only similar. It's only similar to FromSoft Souls-like games.
Divinity, have mercy and grant me forgiveness. The road is yet long, and God is not easily felled. But one day, without fail, you will have your wish. So please grant me forgiveness, Queen Marika.
Now, this is an interesting lore thing, because this insinuates Marika's wish is that the gods be overthrown, despite the fact that she is the main god herself. I don't know if she wanted it to be done by the Elden Lords or just by humanity in general. But apparently this Smith knows that, and apparently he knew her very well.
You, is it? I didn't notice you.
I think he's an omen. Now that I think about it, he looks like an omen. Or some kind of omen.
Just lay out your arms.
Could very well be one of her children, for all we know. He's definitely some creature of the Crucible, being part man and part beast. He's never fully explained. I hope the DLC goes into more detail, but it likely won't. This is very personal, but I'm gonna have to ask anyway.
Those words were not meant for you. I may be prisoner to you, tarnished lot, but my prayers are mine, and mine alone. Well, I've had my say. I'll be more careful too.
See, I've pet him slightly. Apologize. We're not going to be using spirit callings for this playthrough. I'm going to actually try to learn every boss. My first playthrough of beating the game, I did use Mimic Tear. I'm not proud of it, but I did. But to be fair, I used Mimic Tear only for Radagon and the Elden Beast, so I'd say that's pretty fair. First playthrough. The only other boss I really struggled with was... what's his face? The Lord of Blood. That guy was something else. That guy was something else for my first playthrough, and I figured out that I actually missed an item that would have made his boss fight a lot easier. Which sucks, but hopefully I'll actually use that item this playthrough. So, let's go. Let's continue with the storyline, shall we? I might want to switch to one-handed sword. No, we'll use the Claymore for now. We'll use the Claymore. Let's just stick to the Claymore. Let's recap the weapons we upgraded. Swinehander was a bad investment. Truly, truly miserable investment, in my opinion. Alright, let's move on. Rest for a second. Go back to Sword of Interest. Alright, let's go. You know what really sucks is YouTube's weird claim. I'm not getting monetization anyway, but I don't know if the video will be blocked or if my stream will immediately be canceled or if I start humming a song. I've seen some streamers who just straight up play copyrighted music, and because they're like unknown enough, they just get away with it. So I don't know if I could just be like, because when I'm playing games and I'm talking to myself like I normally do, even when I'm not streaming, I like to hum and sing. You know, I like to do my thing. I often, on a whimsy, will be reminded of songs I've heard, and I will sing them, just stanzas of them, or to completion from beginning to end. Maybe sometimes several times in a row. That makes for bad content, even though I'm not really influenced by content. I just know that if somebody joins or watches this in post, they probably won't want to hear me sing a song over and over. But at the same time, I realize that I probably shouldn't care about that. Probably should just do what I do normally. But, you know, there's a certain level of etiquette one should take when deciding what is normal. I often get a song, who's the singer? The guy who originally sang it. Yeah, the song. What's the name of the song? God, I often don't know the names of the song. I just know the words.
Hello. Hello. Please. Over here.
This is one of my favorite NPCs in the whole game.
Hello. It's rather chilly here, isn't it? My mistress sent me off on an errand, but I was accosted by a ruffian, and now I'm in a bind. Could I ask you lend a hand, perhaps? That thug made off with a precious necklace. I need someone to retrieve it. Only, he too is tarnished. If you've any qualms confronting your own, I shall find another. Oh, thank you dearly. What a blessing that we've met like this. The thug should be resting at an abandoned home down the way. Please, I must have the necklace back.
I wish her armor wouldn't face to our shoulder like that. I think they would have put that in testing, but I guess they just didn't care.
The thug should be resting at an abandoned home down the way. Please, I must have the necklace back.
We don't have the map for the area yet, but it's in that direction, right over there. It's on the other side of that cliff you see there. These fucking things. Now, later you get in the game, they don't react to you trying to cut off their arms much. And I think those white things on their body are eggs. Gross. But they're like insects slash. Arthropods? Was it? Oh, yeah, mollusks. That's right. That's the family. Squids and octopi. Got stingrays like this fucking thing. Beaks like birds. This. They're disgusting bodies, and they must be obliterated. It is the will of God. I mean, I'm projecting. God, in theory, loves all his creatures. What the fuck is this fucking thing? This world is mine, and I will destroy it as I see fit, including this disgusting animal. Fuck this thing. I think Patchy's supposed to be around here somewhere. But, not right now, apparently. Anyway, he's... Where is he? I'm sure that'd be an easy hop right there. There it is. What? Is it not on the other side? Wait. Is it over there? I always... You know, nope. There it is. No matter how many times I find this stupid shack, I always get lost when she sends me to it. I'm not even joking. Every single time. There we go. You know what? I think I'm getting lost right now. There it is. I really like the look of this set. I've never used it before, but I like it a lot.
What are you looking at? You trying to start something, mate? Ah, that necklace what you're after, is it? Well, show me what it's worth to you, and I'll consider parting ways with it. I'm not in love with it or nothing. You're a shrewd one, Chief. First, you hand me the runes. And don't try nothing, neither.
Bloodstained behind him, it's so apropos. I'm gonna let you read this, even though it doesn't take that much time, and I'm gonna go get something real quick. Alright, I'm back. Let's see here. Alright, well, I know who this is a picture of. There are lots of things I've already spoiled, but this is one of my favorite storylines, so I like to be vague about it, so...
Alright. Take it.
Excuse me.
Things no damn use to anyone anyway. Your bloody idea, mate. Don't come crying to me later.
For 1,000 souls, please, I can make that in an instant. Don't act like you're, roping me off or anything. Something else I want to do while I'm here, actually. that for me.
Oh, piss off. What is it now? Oh, I see. You want some of me prawn?
Yeah, what's funny about this?
Freshly cooked it is.
Oh man, I bet it smells
All right.
heavenly.
It's yours. If you can meet me price. I could be persuaded to sell you some other bits too. If you've got the runes.
Here's one thing I've noticed about FromSoft. They don't have much attention to detail when it comes to visual things. You notice how my shoulder plate is going right through my shoulder? And how the grass in the ground is going right through this dude's bowl? Visually, not great. They're RPG makers at heart. This explains what the Kingsfield series and all these things. They expect you to use your imagination. But in writing, they leave gaps on purpose, so it's very interesting. But he's not using any water to bake to kill. But yeah, anyway, we know for a fact these things have to be like the babies of the lobsters we see around here, because there are no small lobsters.
You're tarnished too, ain't you? Can you see it then? The guidance of grace, I mean. I can't see it at all no more. Makes no bloody sense anyway. Why some no-name shithead like me should get called to the lands between. Cruel bloody joke, you ask me. Maybe something went tits up with it. Maybe it's been broke for a good long time. The Earth Tree, I'm saying.
Alright, so we didn't buy enough for him to talk to us. Let's talk about Rhea.
Oh. So you met the girl, did you? Alright, well. Sod the particulars of the matter. But it ain't my fault she's stupid enough to get duped. Is it?
You are a shithead, huh?
She ain't all right, that one. Lucky she ain't died on the bloody roadside, I reckon.
She is a bit naive. I think she has a real sweet heart. But
Never met someone with a
she's
taste
dumb
for
as
blood.
hell.
We'd make good mates, I reckon. I'll be seeing you.
That's why I bought those brown. He gives you that emote. When I choose emotes, I like to choose ones that don't make my weapon disappear if it's already in my hand. Excuse me. For instance, unless I need to use it urgently, I'll usually just go to the emote menu and then use it, but let's look here. When I use this, sword disappears. Where's it go? Nobody knows. I use this. It looks like at least I put away my sword before I sit down and do that. But when I use dejection, sword stays. This one disappears. I prefer not to use these for the most part, but it has no alternative where you can still see the weapon. But weapon disappears here. I usually like to, replace it with ones where it doesn't. And I don't like using the bows where it disappears, because if I'm in a PvP situation where I'm dueling or something like that and I want to bow, having the weapon disappear is pretty immersion breaking for me. But it is what it is. Anyway, yeah. So he has no idea as to the true nature of Rhea. He just sees her as some naive child. And she is. She's a naive child. No matter what she is. She's one of my favorite characters for a number of reasons. Which I will all leave vague. And let you interpret as to those reasons, even if they're unsavory interpretations. Often the internet is a bastion for unsavory ideas and interpretations of entirely wholesome and normal things. There are many rules of the internet that are entirely dedicated to more or less tainting and corrupting things that are entirely innocent and good by their nature. But we just can't have that on the internet now, can we? No, sir. No, the human nature must seep into every crevice. Humanity, as it were, the dark soul of man, must creep into every single crevice and pervert and destroy and corrupt all that is good in the world, including Rhea. Alright, let's go here. Put a beacon right here. There we go. That way I know I'm facing it. And I'll put a message down that lets people know that's the direction they need to go in. So I see that a lot of people do not get the right, do not know they're supposed to go in this way. So there we go. I don't know. We'll just say item ahead and then point forwards. It's northwest. Oh no, I'm pointing the wrong way. Okay. Yes. Slightly. Let me just make sure when I point, I am pointing directly at the thing we need to go towards, so that I don't accidentally misguide people. I don't want there to be any incorrect interpretation. It's very hard because the angle is, the farther it is away, the harder it is to point directly at it. There it is. Shit!
Brave Tarnished.
I just bumped into you.
You will only tire by striking this barrier.
I'm not trying to hurt you. Why would I ever hurt you?
That you have reconsidered.
Obviously.
Thank goodness.
What? It was back into you, and you're acting like I tried to murder you. Please, calm down, woman. I swear. Let's put this right in the middle, and then push forward. That way our point should go directly towards it. In theory. Let's test. Boom, baby. Now we'll create a message. Precious item ahead. And point. Check my message to make sure it's pointing in the right direction. That's right. Precious item ahead. Alright, let's go.
The thug should be resting at an abandoned home down the way. Please, I must have the necklace back. Oh yes. That is my missing necklace. Thank you kindly. I am in your debt. Did I forget to announce myself? I am Raya, in the service of Lady Tanith of the Volcano Manor. I seek stalwart Tarnished, who might join our house. You are very brave yourself. Not only a steady hand, but a steady heart. Merciless, even to your own kind.
She thinks I killed him.
Such strength is precisely what my mistress seeks. Please, take this. Brave Tarnished, seek the Altus Plateau, the realm of the Erd Tree. Most Tarnished are doomed to wander the outskirts of the lands between, peering wistfully at the towering Erd Tree. But you are no ordinary Tarnished. And once that is proven, the Volcano Manor will fully extend its invitation to fight amongst a family of champions. Oh, and one more thing. Only for you. This land of Liurnia is connected to the Altus Plateau by the Grand Lift of Dectus, beyond the High Road. But the lift has been defunct for an age, meaning there's no simple means of passage. Instead, you must seek the old ruins in the cliff. At the base of the valley, near the Grand Lift, there's an old tunnel. It was excavated from both ends, linking Liurnia to the Altus Plateau. I have faith in you. A champion through and through. I do hope that we can meet again. Seek the old ruins in the cliff. At the base of the valley, near the Grand Lift, there's an old tunnel. It was excavated from both ends, linking Liurnia to the Altus Plateau. I have faith in you. A champion. Through and through. I do hope that we can meet again.
So, she basically just explained to us that if we go by the normal way to get to the Altus Plateau, we have to get the medallions, as we collected one earlier, as you can see here. Left half of a split medallion depicting the Erd Tree. Brandishing the medallion with both halves conjoined will activate the Grand Lift of Dectus, connecting the Altus Plateau to Liurnia. The right half is said to reside in Fort Ferrith, in the Dragon Burrow, far to the east. This basically means we have to go to, if we want to do it by the normal way, we don't have to go to Caelid. The Dragon Burrow is around here. Generally, somewhere around here. So I think the other half is, like, here. But if we want to do it another way, we can go through the mountain pass, which requires a boss fight, and some other things. It's considered the coward's path, but if we go through that path, there are some other things that we can meet. I'm not sure if... there might be some things we miss out on if we go through the Dectus path, storyline-wise, but there also might not. I don't know. But I've gone through the Dectus path a few times. The honest man's path, that is to say. He is not here. For some reason, Patches is not here. I've been told he shows up here. I've never met him here, but I've been told he shows up here sometimes. But he's not here for me. Immediately go talk to him again. But yeah. Some octopi over here. But yes, let's go ahead and take that marker off the fucking... I mean the frickin' fucking thing. So, yeah. I've never understood. The most fascinating thing is that when I've done any study into why curse words are curse words, I find that most of the time, the entire idea of why a curse word is a curse word is invented. It's not invented. It's the result of cultural differences, which, you know, fair enough. But studying the English history has told me that the reason the English words are the way they are is by the very need to differentiate themselves from their ancestor culture, which is German. Though it wasn't called German at the time. Oh, fuck. There. The Normans were descendants of Germans, more or less. And, and the words they would use for vulgar things would eventually be changed into other words and more what they considered to be more polite words. Sorry, I was concentrating because I was fighting the guy. More polite words because they were Anglo-Saxon words, English words, Anglo words. England, land of the Angles, land of Anglo-Saxons. They were considered polite words. Words like, you know, fuck and shit. Those, like Scheiße. That's why curse words in German are so similar to English curse, to what the English consider to be curse words. Because they are German curse. They're not curse words in German. They're normal words in curse in German, but because they're German words that refer to vulgar things, and it is better to create more polite words that are Anglin, and they refer to that thing in their proper terms. I mean, and I'm no anti-Churchill preacher. When Churchill made his speeches, he made sure to be very Anglin about his word choices, which makes sense because they were literally warring against the descendants of their ancestors who stayed in Germany. That is to say, they stayed in Deutschland, the land of the Deutsch, and England was the land of the Anglins, who were different descendants of Deutsch, who had migrated away from, you know, the Germans, the Deutschlands, the Deutsch. Germany is basically a word that the English used for, you know, it's Gerland. It's the land of the Gers, the land of the Germans. It's the German land. But they call themselves the Deutsch, which is why in Germany it's called Deutschland. Land of the Deutsch, the Deutschmen. It's kind of funny. It's kind of like how Japan is called Japan by English speakers, but by Japanese speakers it's called Nippon. Right? They have a different name for their own land, and we so hubristically decided that, oh no, we know what your land is called. It's called whatever the fuck we want it to be called. We have our own name for you people. But yeah. So a lot of the origins of curse words that come from English, or are English curse words, are because they are words from a more core language that they originated from. That is to say, English language originated from German language, more or less. And so England considered themselves more sophisticated than their ancestors. They considered the Germans, the Deutsch, as more brutish, as barbarians. Well, considering you're trying to follow the path of the Romans and recreate a sort of Roman, which is funny because the Germans, the Deutsch, tried to do the same thing. They tried to recreate the Italian Empire of the Romans. They tried to recreate it. That's why they call it the Holy Roman Empire. The English did the same thing, they just called it their own version of it. That a lot of civilizations since Rome have been basically copying Romans, which is funny because I'm sure Italians are very flattered by the fact that they rest in the homeland of one of the most successful empires of all time, and that everybody has been trying to copy them ever since. If I am partly Italian, and I find it partly flattering, even though the most Italian thing I've ever done is eat spaghetti. So, my family has never spoken Italian. I've never met any people in my family who speak Italian naturally. My Italian ancestry is purely genetic. The most Italian thing my family does is eat spaghetti sometimes. We literally don't even know how to make our own real sauce. The Italian sauces my family makes is so American. It's almost 90% meat and grease. So you can understand that that when my family makes a sauce for spaghetti, well, I'm the kind of person who likes a tomato sauce for his spaghetti, not a meat sauce. So you can understand how disappointed I am by the tastes my family usually has for their spaghetti sauces. It's very American, mostly sausage, mostly made sausage. It's very decadent. As far as calories go, that's the American way. Get fat quick. That's our diet. So that when our inevitable collapse of our society comes, we die the last because of how fat we are. Unless somebody kills us and eats us, which is something that happens when society collapses. But yeah. Yeah. I'm sure Italians are very flattered by the very idea that almost every single civilization tries to model itself after its ancestors. Rome was quite the society until it, turned into a complete cesspool of corruption. When all the basically what you see in modern America, political class people who actually have no interest in the middle to lower class people and manipulate them to gain their approval and lie and prosecute people who speak the truth and do their best to try to improve society. It's my favorite. I love movie. Yeah, I love society. I love corrupt political class of people who teach their children to lie to the masses. And I'm just gonna stop there because I could go on forever about that shit. That pisses me off. But I don't have a better solution to human society. It's not like I can give you guys all the answers, so I should just shut the fuck up and, just be content with how shit everything is, like everybody else, while I play video games and record videos about it, and don't understand why I do the things I do. Let's go get that map for this area, shall we? Then we'll proceed to the main area here. I'm going the wrong fucking way. I should use this compass more often. I shouldn't just be like, oh yeah, this is south. I'm using my own inborn sense of direction. If I was in real life, it would be, my sense of direction would be more reliable because our subconscious mind is linked with the magnetic field. I swear to God, that's the truth. I'm not being, lots of people don't have a very good direction. It's not very developed, but all living beings have a sense of direction based on magnetic fields, but that's what science has told us anyway, and we especially know this because of wild animals. But humans, humans have not practiced this sense of direction very often, so it can be very weak within us, but we are linked up in a sort of internet with the magnetic field, in which we have a natural born sense of direction. Of course, it requires training in order to utilize properly. But yeah, if I was in real life, there were many times in real life where I thought I was lost, but I immediately found my way without using any sense by using my natural sense of direction, even though I wasn't able to use any landmarks to find this out. There are many times when I would have been lost if not for my natural sense of direction in the wild. But I guess I had some practice. But the fact is that, yeah, humans should have, if they practice it even in the least, some sense of direction. But in a video game, I have to use a compass because there's no magnetic field for a 2D plane on my television screen. But yeah, I know that all sounded like pseudoscience and I'm a crazy person. Maybe it was. But as far as I understand, human beings generally have a sense of direction that is perfectly natural and based on their senses beyond sense. Not just necessarily their ability to see, hey, look, that's a tree. You know, we don't have a fucking compass built into our visor. It's not like I can look at the upper screen of my eyes and be like, oh yeah, that's south. But you know, if you maneuver around in the wild long enough, you get a natural born sense of direction. But yeah, give me a second. I need to get something. I remember going in this direction for a reason. Kind of want to upgrade my weapons. Makes me want to use this. But I have some things to think about, so I'll be right back. I will be back quite rightly. I have returned. Alright. I don't remember what I was talking about, so we shall continue off in terms of game. I'm gonna put this thing right here. That way I will not get lost like I did last time. Here we are. I was trying to get there originally, but I just kind of wandered off course. No sense of direction, as I was speaking of before. So now I remember what I was talking about. That's right. My natural sense of direction is not really in place when I am playing in a video game. Though there are elements of it that exist. Just not the natural, in-place 3D sense of direction that would exist. Three-dimensional, embodied. There will be lobsters. I love a movie. Oh man, I want to end this little tirade, this stream, just so I can rewatch each videos I like to watch. I've been rewatching the Vampire the Masquerade series that Alpha Busa has been doing recently. I used to watch his TTS stuff all the time. I don't always agree with some of the things they like implicitly agree with as people, but I don't care. They're funny, and I like their consistency with the lore isn't always 100%, but they have an admiration. They have a deep love and admiration for the writing of the RPG scenes that they decide to do content about. And what I love the most about their 40K series is that despite having disagreements with the scene politically, they are honest with the characters about who they really are. I don't like the Jamaican accent they gave Salat the Vulcan, because it's kind of racist. It's like, maybe it's not racist. That's not the right word. It's just a weird stereotype, right? Like, he's black and likes fire, therefore Dominican, or whatever. It's just like, he just has black skin. He doesn't, I mean, does this planet necessarily, why are they space Jamaican? You know what I mean? Like, why is this planet full of space Jamaicans? That doesn't make any sense. But, you know, whatever. It doesn't matter. Maybe they're feeling like they're being inclusive by doing that. I don't know. Fucking, it's just weird. I guess you can't give people space accents. We wouldn't know what they would sound like. But still, the fact he's space Jamaican is just like, what? But I love, his personality is exaggerated, but I think it's because they're trying to insinuate he has some kind of brain damage, but from dying so many times, or from being, his soul has been gone through some weird stuff. But yeah, I mean, they're more or less honest with the characters, though they put a comedic spin on them. Obviously, Magnus doesn't exactly act as Magnus really would, and also he's not Space Australian, but you know, whatever. Still, it's a very funny series, and I like it a lot. And their new Vampire the Masquerade series is great. Their authenticity to the lore is fantastic, trying to, you know, kind of translate the characters they made, thank you, game, into Vampire the Masquerade characters is fun, because they put all of everybody's favorite characters there. Magnus, Marcus, and Dor, and Boy, who is Boy, doesn't have a name for some reason, even in this universe, doesn't have a name. And part of me is throwing up in the air whether he's actually Dor's son, which I would prefer if he was genetically Dor's son. I feel like it would give it a lot more attachment. But him being adopted is also okay, I guess. But I feel like the idea of Dorn being ex-military and also having a genetic son, where's his mother? That would leave a lot more room to question. Obviously in the TTS universe, he is the child of some random person who has had their son taken from them because, I guess, somebody on Terra said, your son has been selected to be the voice of the Emperor. And the family was like, oh, that's such a blessing and how great. Even though inside they were probably like, my son is being taken away from me, that's terrible. But, you know, you obey what the fucking Empire says or you die. So that's, even if you live on Terra, your rights are pretty limited. But, oh, here's Fuckface. Anyway, let me finish my train of thought, but, I don't like, you know, I wish Boy had a real name and that he was actually Dor's son as opposed to what I suspect is likely an adopted child. But, I want to say some things about this character first. His name's Vare, in case you didn't know that. And, I highly suspect that he killed the person who was originally supposed to be our maiden. If you remember, or if you haven't seen it, in the first area where we spawned at the beginning of the game, there was a dead woman there who has some of the items we require as a tarnished. And it is basically deeply hinted that she's our maiden, who was supposed to be there when we awakened, but she's dead for some reason. And this guy's covered in blood. He's supposed to be a mercy bringer or whatever, but he immediately already knew we were maidenless. I guess because he saw there wasn't a maiden with us at the time. But I think it's because he already knew that. I think he killed our maiden. That's my headcanon. This guy killed our maiden, and he's trying to manipulate us into stupid, evil shit. So yeah, Bari's a dickhead. But let's get on with this.
Ah, there you are.
Hey, asshole.
You claimed a great rune and had your audience with the two fingers at the round table home. What was your impression?
Alright. Now, I want to say I said this the first time, but I'm going to say that I'm going to tell you the truth. The reason I say this is because it's the truth. But the reason they didn't seem right is because they're old. And that was the reason I said it the first time. They didn't seem right. I'm not going to tell you they were magnificent, because they weren't. They weren't magnificent. But that doesn't mean what they're saying is wrong. I mean, they're misled, sure. So is everybody here. Nobody here's the good guy. But, this is the honest answer, if you want my, like, heart of hearts answer. They don't seem right. And they don't seem right because they're rotting and their way of life is rotting. Everything is rotting away. That's the way of things. And they're holding on to a past that doesn't exist anymore. But, I want to see what happens if I say this.
You don't say. Well, what a relief that must be. You may go then. My work here is done. May the wisdom of the two fingers guide you.
Yeah, see, he's really manipulative, because that's not his belief system.
Is something wrong?
Uh-huh, yeah. See, he's lying. It was really... The voice acting is great, because you could tell it was really forced when he said that.
Aha. Your intuition serves you.
I'm just going to follow up here.
My doubts had been piling up, you see.
He's manipulating us.
Two fingers cannot be trusted.
He already believed this.
Truly, naught but rambling, senile.
He already serves Mogwin.
I believe that when the Elden Ring was shattered, the two fingers were corrupted, their guidance skewed. Even worse, the fingers harbor no love for our kind.
No, he's speaking half-truths to us, like any...
most.
He's speaking half-truths to us, like any devil's advocate would, like any serpent would try to convince you. He speaks half-truths. Oh, surely you will not die. You know, it's a half-truth. Here we go.
Oh, I have a gift for you. Something fit only for the wise.
Because only the wise would kill their fellow man.
A means for circumventing the draw of the two fingers. Give it a try, won't you?
Sure.
And if it please you, may we meet again. I've high hopes for you, my lambkin.
Now, what I love the most about this is that, just like in every Souls game, they tie the PvP aspect of the game into the PvE aspect of the game. They explain to you the in-lore, the in-game reason why you would be this way, why you do the things you're doing. And that's a lovely part of every Souls game, is that the PvP aspect of the game is the in-game. There's an in-game reason for why you do what you do. And everything is immersive and seamless, for the most part. There's lots of disconnects and shit like that. But, like, they tell you, they give you a motivation for why you are doing what you're doing in-game. And that PvP isn't an option you select in the main menu. It's something you choose to do as an in-game character, role-playing within their game world. And that's what makes PvP in Souls games so satisfying, whether you were the recipient or the adversary. You know what I mean?
Be sure to try that finger I gave you. There's no reason to dither. The Tarnished was
very
spurned
adamant
by grace, forsaken by the Two Fingers. And now they ask you to mend their crumbling world? Your loyalties are misplaced with them.
See, he's kind of desperate here. He's very much trying to convince us to use the items he's given us to attack others. Now, he has his own motivations for this. It's not his true... He doesn't truly believe the things he's saying to us. They're mostly rhetoric. They try to convince us to do something that both of us know is wrong on a fundamental level. Now, he's the servant of the Lord of Blood. I spoiled that. He serves Mogwin. And from the very beginning, he served Mogwin, but he's very manipulative. He tries to convince us through our own means that this is the right way to go.
Be sure to try that finger I gave you. I'm quite
certain... See him rubbing his hands together? Yeah, he's a stereotypical villain. He's trying to convince us to do something innately wrong. To eat the apple from the tree, as it were. To disobey a very fundamental law. The golden rule, as it were. Of course, we should treat others as we would have them treat us. Now, as a person who never summons others, I never get invaded, basically. Unless I'm summoning friends, and often I'm being summoned by people I know in real life to play this game. We usually get invaded, and then we all die. Every once in a while, I'll kill a bad guy if I'm upgraded properly and get everybody. Never when I've been invaded, when I'm playing with people in real life, but I played co-op and saved a couple dudes, but that's about it. I'll often play with strangers more than not, but every once in a while I'll play with friends who I know in real life, and we'll get invaded in low level or whatever if we're trying to play through the whole game, and we'll all die. That's generally how it goes. Once I've been killed, I'm almost always certain that my friend is gonna die. Don't tell them I said that. Yeah. Generally how it goes. Great. Give me a second. I see a creature on my wall. I'm going to be slapped to death. Because insect life is unacceptable in my world. There is no such thing as an insect that does not deserve to be killed, except spiders. Generally, I will not kill spiders. And the only reason I don't kill spiders is because they're insects. Well, they're bugs. They're bugs that kill other bugs, and that's what makes them acceptable. That's what makes them acceptable creatures. Whether or not I catch them and move them out of my house depends on where they are and how big they are. If they're really, really big and they're where they need to be, like outside in my garage, or behind certain areas where they won't get to me and I don't care about them, I will leave them alone, for the most part. But if they're in my living space and they're a certain kind of creature, if it's a spider and it's like big enough and it's in my room, I'll catch it and put it somewhere else or outside. But if it's a certain kind of insect that does not belong in my room, ants I will mostly be permissible to, unless it's like a whole colony of them, in which case I will either annihilate them or remove their queen and put it somewhere else. But for the most part, I will annihilate undesirable creatures. I've never seen a centipede in my house, a house centipede, but if I did find a house centipede in my house, I would leave it alone, because much like spiders, it's the kind of creature that eats other undesirable creatures. So I don't really care about house centipedes so much. I just don't want them on me. Though that's kind of an inevitability, isn't it? There's a map around this area here somewhere. I'm gonna capture that map real quick. Thinking about some of the things I want to do to progress in this area, but I also want to upgrade my weapon. The weapons I'm going to be using to their max. Oh, you know what? Give me a second. Now, if you don't know, this person, well, you see this a lot when you hear ancient NPCs speaking languages you don't understand because they're speaking Latin. Latin's a dead language. That is to say that it's not a language that nobody understands or can't speak. That it's a language that no major population in any nation speaks as their main language. Though many languages in the first world and many in worlds besides that, second, third, whatever, speak descendants of the language of Latin, which was the main language of Rome. Again, dialing back to Rome as being a very influential empire in the world. As a matter of fact, the Holy Roman Empire, which when you tell people, oh, you know what the Holy Roman Empire is? They'll say, oh yeah, I know what the Roman Empire is. The Holy Roman Empire was something that happened it happened in Germany, mostly. It was an empire that tried to replicate what happened in Rome. And the Holy Roman Empire was basically Germans, ironically, because the Germans basically sacked Rome and basically was one of the many forces that led to the Roman Empire collapsing. And they basically tried to replicate Rome, much as the English did, or the Anglo-Saxons did. Many civilizations learned from Rome, from the way they organized their society and their military. So Latin language is very symbolic. But yes, this was something that in the past, when Dark Souls first came out and Demon Souls first came out, they had music that would play during boss fights that many people mistook for Latin and tried to find out what the language was and what the lyrics were, but there were no lyrics. It was just generic, generic noises, chanting and whatnot, using a soundboard kind of music option. But they started actually putting Latin in their songs, in the boss music, and things like that, in their lore. Now, I'm not sure how this ties into the lore, that they speak actual Latin. It's very strange, but it's a nice tie-in, just because Latin is a beautiful language. It's very interesting. But, obviously we would expect that players, the characters in the world to speak the language of the person playing it. That's why there are language options. But the fact that there are NPCs speaking a very specific language, like Latin, is strange to me. But the idea is they're speaking in old world language before the world of this world. I suppose if you were speaking Swedish, you would want to speak an ancient Nordic language. If the language was in Japanese, you would want to speak a very old dialect of Japan, of Nipponese. It's probably not the right way to put that because I'm speaking English, but a very old language of Nippon. But here, for English speakers, the old language of our civilizations that date back to the ancestors of what is an English civilization or a Western civilization is Latin. It's one of the oldest languages of empire and of civilization and of society in general, of true society. I'm not talking about like ancient barbaric tribes that cattle was their mainstay, and they had a bunch of huts and timber hearth buildings to their name. I mean, like, hundreds of thousands of citizens, like a true empire, a true civilization that could stand the test of time, to where that every civilization and every society of humankind looks to their society for inspiration and admires the things they left behind for everybody to learn the lessons from, though we often don't learn the lessons from their civilizations and the stories left behind. Latin is a very beautiful language. I feel it touches on a deep part of of us, just hearing it spoken. But yes, Bloodborne, as far as I know, was one of the first games where they actually started putting Latin lyrics in the background of boss fight songs. And my own, I don't know when they started really doing it, but it was. Song is one of my favorites. His theme song, I say theme song, his boss music is one of my favorite themes of all time. And one day it was pointed out to me through YouTube, basically me searching up his song, that it actually has lyrics and that it's being spoken in Latin. Now, the reason I thought it was gibberish at first is because I've become very used to FromSoft putting gibberish sounding songs in their game that's actually just chanting of nonsense. But a second reason is that the Latin they spoke in Bloodborne was not very good, but here the Latin is very believable. It's very in the style of old Roman Latin. Now, a lot of the Latin that, if you're a Catholic, you'll hear in modern day is ecclesiastical Latin. And ecclesiastical Latin is very different from Roman Latin. The pronunciation is completely different. And a lot of ecclesiastical Latin is descendant from the Latin that was spoken in the Holy Roman Empire and in Italy and in Spain. It's a kind of Latin that is basically propagated mostly by the Catholic Church. I could go on for hours about the Catholic Church and the Roman Catholic Church, and a lot of the things I would say are not very good, and so I apologize to anybody who may or may not be listening in the future, if they are Catholic. Yeah. But if you study the history behind a lot of the things they've done, especially when it came to the Lutheric kind of revolution, I suppose, of bringing the word of God to the people. There's just a lot of corruption, I think, that happens in the Catholic ecclesiarchy and their hierarchy in general. And this is to be expected. That's human nature. I think people put too much faith in the hierarchy of the church without putting enough faith in the thing it's supposed to be built around. I think it's kind of ironic because, not ironic, but it's funny because people forget that humans are humans, no matter what occupation they have, no matter who they're supposed to be guided by, even if it's God themselves. And even according to their own teachings, Adam and all of the people of God, throughout all of the teachings of the Bible, have all been supposedly guided by God, but all of them in the Bible fall short. All of them. Literally all of them except Christ himself. All of them fall short. So the idea that nobody in the church, that the church itself isn't corrupted, is fucking bullshit to me. And I hate to use such coarse languages, but we've already talked about how coarse languages don't really exist. But yeah, it's a cultural phenomenon. But the fact that they really have faith in their church, to me, is supremely foolish. You can have faith in some people if you know them personally, and you can have faith in God. But the idea you have faith in the church, I have faith in no organization. I do not have faith in my government, and I don't have faith in some supreme over church thing I can't relate to. I have faith, or rather, I like the people I know in real life, and I can meet people at church, including a pastor or a priest. I can like individuals, but there's no reason why I should have faith, or even like an organization of people who are obviously so prone to corruption. That's just human nature. That's history in a nutshell. So, thumbs up to you who know Latin and know what this woman has been saying this entire time. But I had to look it up, and I can't remember off the top of my head. So after all of that religious talk and all of that talk of Latin history, I'm done with the act of murder. Yeah. Anyway, it was a beautiful little segment we decided to venture on. Now, there's supposed to be a map around here somewhere. Our boss is here. I don't remember this specific jail. First, I'll go ahead and get the map that I know is around here before I bother with that jail. I forget what that map is. I know it's around here. I remember it being around here somewhere. It seems strange that I've forgotten completely where it is. Okay, I distinctly remember it being along this area here. So, I don't know why I haven't seen it already. Maybe they moved it in a patch? I don't know. Oh, these jellyfish mad. I don't want to fuck with those jellyfish, bruh. I don't want to frick around with them jellyfish, bruh. I remember being on the shore somewhere. I do not know how long I've been streaming. I might have to check. I might end this soon. I'm pretty tired. I'm tired in since I don't want to really do this anymore. Not really in the sense that I can't keep doing this, because I would actually like to keep playing Elden Ring. I would just like to stop streaming. I have reaped very little reward from this. Though I admit, streaming on YouTube has its problems. You will not get a lot of exposure trying to stream on YouTube. You have to have a lot of following if you want to try streaming on YouTube. Twitch is really where it's at. I just want to break it up into parts so that I can use it for later stuff. I might start streaming on Twitch from here, but I feel like because I've gone so long into streaming on YouTube that there's really no point in doing that. I could have swore there was a freaking. I know that there's a map around here. What's going on? I used to know. Did they really move the map from over here to somewhere else? Because I used to remember there being a map like specifically around here. Is it really up here? Oops. I don't remember it being past this point. Maybe I'm remembering incorrectly, but I remember it being on the shore, very near to where those bats were. And over here is a completely different area, which is not related to the maps at all, if I remember correctly. Did they move where the maps are for this part of the... Nope, it's over here. I guess I misremembered. Maybe they moved it somewhere else, but it's safer to guess that I completely misremembered where that is. That makes sense. It's farther down. I do not want to wake up any of these things, because they are some of the worst enemies in the whole fucking game, and I hate it. At least you could have made the worst enemies in the game something amazing and, like, cool, but you made it lobsters and dogs and birds? Like, what the fuck? Mundane bullshit. You're the worst. I simply assume that Miyazaki had a traumatizing experience with birds and lobsters. He got pinched really hard, and dogs. He must have gotten chased around. That's really my headcanon. Miyazaki hates these animals because they've abused him in the past. And you know what? That headcanon, I think is probably right. Also, here comes some of the worst enemies in the game besides those things. You know what? Yeah, I misremembered where it was. I recognize where this is now. Alright, I think I'm gonna call it for now. I've gotten all the maps I need, and I'm pretty tired playing this for now. Or at least of recording. Maybe I'll play by myself for a little while, but I'm not gonna play recording for any longer. If anyone ever sees this, is there anybody out there? Is there anybody out there. Hello. Smoke on the horizon. Anyway.
Hey!
Goodbye. You say hello, I say goodbye.